Hello and welcome to the Ship Sports Report. I am Bill Morgul, the Sports Information Director at Shippensburg University, and today we are going to be taking a look at Shippensburg University swimming. We're going to be previewing a little bit of the 2024-25 season and also just talking to you and sharing to you all a little bit about what it's like to be a swimmer and all that swimming entails. And we are first joined today by our head coach of swimming, Tim Verge. Coach Verge, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today. One of the things that I always try in our line of work to explain to the people outside too is that unlike a lot of the traditional sports, swimming not only is unconventional in the aspect of what it takes to do it, but it's, I think, maybe the longest season possibly that any athletic team has to deal with. You're already started here in September and you last all the way usually through the end of February and possibly even into March. Mm-hmm. Could you just talk about a little bit from a coaching perspective of how you have to prepare, how you have to get ready to do all the things that you have to do for your swimmers for such a long amount of time, 7-8 months, possibly a season can run?
Sure. Yeah, it is long. And it's interesting because it's classified as a winter sport, but we start, we have our first meet in 2 days. And it runs through the NCAA meet in March, and we don't really have a preseason or a, kind of extended period. People come back early in the summer like some of the other sports. So we're allowed to start practice pretty much the first day of classes, and it just kind of keeps running. And it's in our approach is that we try to ease into it a little bit more than maybe we used to, just because of the length of it and to keep them fresh mentally and physically. I think the COVID year actually taught us a lot in terms of what we could back off from and maybe what we didn't need to force doing for that length of period that we used to do, and still see some really good results. So, but it's definitely a challenge, especially when you get into late October and early November and the weather's changing and things are starting to pile up academically a little bit, and we kind of have to push through some stuff a little bit. And even when we come back in January, it's not a long time. We come back like the second or third, and we're only about 6 weeks till the conference meet. But I just think coming back at that time period and again making that last push can be a little bit of a challenge. So.
Yeah, and like you're talking about, even in October and November, you're 3 months into the season already, mm-hmm. and yet you still got another 3 or so months to go. So you were a collegiate swimmer here at Shippensburg, and you've been a coach for a long time. What necessarily, in order to coach for a while, you kind of have to enjoy some aspect of swimming. What is it about swimming itself that you've either enjoyed or admired, or what is it that, just about the sport itself that you find fascinating? Yeah,
fortunately when I was younger, I had, I guess we define as some success, and it was exciting, it kind of made me feel good about myself, and I didn't really think I could excel at other sports. I always enjoyed watching them and stuff, but I just wasn't a direction I was going to go. And then I think collegiately, it actually, one of the things I think that's helped me coaching is collegiately I had some challenges when I first started. And I never got to the point that I felt like I should be. And it really, I think, has helped me kind of adjust some of the stuff with swimming, with people that we have that come in frustrated and, just trying to adapt to everything that's different in the environment. But the sport itself, I just love what it can do for people, for young folks. And seeing it's great for confidence building just because there's a little bit more of a, like an individual aspect to it. So, when you see some improvements, whether it's practice or the weight room or competition, it's, it's nice to see them gaining some belief in themselves. And I really like that aspect. And I just like the collegiate level. I think it's a great time to be a part of their lives and influence them. And so, it's just kind of why I've stuck with it this long.
Yeah. Taking a look at 24-25 here. It's scary to think that that's where we are in life in 24-25. It looks like you have some fun squads this year. You have a men's squad that doesn't necessarily have a lot of numbers, but they have a lot of motivated swimmers that want to make an impact when that time comes. And you have a women's squad that maybe skewed a little bit more younger, but at the same time, I think you have a lot of people that are motivated to want to have success, certainly on that side too. How has the dynamic been over this first month of seeing them come together, work together in practice, and kind of forming that bond? Because also, from a swimming standpoint, you have the individual, aspect where they have to perform in the pool, but also maybe from a motivation standpoint or a support factor, that's where the team comes into play too. How do you see them forming as a group?
I think they've done a great job so far. Again, it's, I don't want to say easier, but it's definitely kind of that, quote unquote honeymoon period where, it's kind of fun to be back and, everybody's sort of excited and, maybe the workloads aren't quite as big academically and there's a lot going on. And we just need to be consistent in maintaining that, like I touched on earlier when we get into some of those really difficult cycles of training. But right now they've been doing really good. They're positive with each other. I think the young group of women that we have has really kind of brought an energy to some of the other returning folks. And I think the talent level is good there too. So it's kind of made them step their game up. And on the men's side, as you mentioned, it's not a lot of numbers, but it's a group that's real close. And I think they really just enjoy being around each other, and seeing each other be successful. So right now it's great. We just kind of have to continue that momentum.
That's half of it sometimes is the motivation and whatnot too. And maybe lastly, one thing to throw your way here is it's always seemingly exciting when you have a fresh slate ahead of you. Mm-hmm. The first dual meet, as you mentioned, is in just a couple of days. How intriguing, exciting is that from a coach standpoint where you see the whole slate ahead of you and knowing what the story can be written? It's more daunting than anything else. 4 months to go. No. Yeah.
It's
daunting for sure because of the length of the journey, but also maybe a little bit just exciting to see where they can take you because you form the relationships with your athletes and you want to see, like you said, you want to see how they do, but it's kind of fun to maybe look and see all those steps along the way. Yeah,
it's always great to get going. I think there's, practice just a little better this week, kind of like I'm sure every sport when they get ready to start. And, you kind of get a sense of what, those individuals are going to be like in terms of that competitive atmosphere. And, although there's things to work on in practice, that's a whole nother thing, and so we learn a little bit about that. And it's kind of a, I've always felt like the first meet too is kind of a, I don't want to say sad moment, but you kind of realize with your seniors that, it's,
the beginning of the end.
It's the beginning of the end, a little bit more so than day to day. And I've been fortunate to have some really good mentors over the years that have kind of taught me to enjoy, that time a little bit more. Just because they're, you see them all the time for 4 years and it's a big part of your life. So that's always a little bit sad, I guess, for lack of a better term. But it's exciting too, they're getting ready to move on and it's exciting to see the freshmen in their first meet, really kind of in a different environment and, what they've always felt like college athletics might be. And so, yeah, it's, we get going and then, just kind of hopefully keep rolling from there.
Yeah, it'll be exciting to see where 24-25 goes, and it'll begin here in a couple of days, a dual meet or a friendly, if you will, when Shippensburg hosts Kutztown here at Donald Miller Pool. So, Coach Verge, best of luck this season, and thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, thank you, Bill. Appreciate it.
We'll be right back with more of the Ship Sports Report right after this. And we are back, and thank you again for checking out the Ship Sports Report. We're continuing our look at Shippensburg University swimming, and we are now joined by women's swimmer Lauren Kroll. Lauren, thanks so much for taking the time to talk to us this afternoon.
Thank you for having me.
We have been talking a little bit first with Coach Verge about how in swimming it can be a really long season. Mm-hmm. We're in the month of September right now, and your conference meet is at the end of February, and the NCAA championships are in March.
Yes.
You have to kind of structure yourself a little bit because there's ebbs and flows to that long 7 months. How do you manage it? How do you try to work through it as best as you can, knowing that you've got a long journey to get from the start to the finish?
It's definitely tough, especially with school and all the workload, but what really helps is having your teammates around you. It's really nice that our sport is fortunate to have men's and women's together most of the time. So it's nice to always have bonding events together outside of school and swimming. We always maybe go to the corn maze, or we do intramural sports or things like that. So that always keeps it fun and not stressful all the time. In terms of like swimming and schoolwork, it's definitely tough prioritizing things, but again, with some people in the same major as me, it's always nice to follow someone.
Yeah, and kind of have that camaraderie between you of, multiple people going through the same schedule and the same things.
Yeah.
Another aspect that we touched on earlier too is you have to perform well individually in the pool, but at the same time, you've mentioned the importance of the team.
Yes.
And maybe could you just impart a little bit on us, a little bit about how that is such a beneficial thing, because you may not have your best day, a teammate may not have their best day, but I feel like that's part of the importance of the team is you're always there to pick each other up, and when each individual has success, that contributes to the team's success. Like, that seems like a special aspect of how you all go about it.
Yeah, it's very unique how swimming and some other sports where you do have your individual events, so that's a lot of pressure on yourself, but that's something that you want to do for yourself. And then you also have the relays where you're with other teammates, and it's just really fun. And I think that's what gets us through it, is that the fun aspect of racing with your friends, your teammates, to get through a meet. Even if you don't do good in an individual event, they're always outside the pool waiting for you at the bleachers, just congratulating you on whatever or however you swam during that. And it's always nice that when you're swimming sometimes, if you're looking, they're along the sidelines of the pool and they're just cheering you on, or maybe above the pool too.
The support has to mean a lot, I'm sure.
It's
You're right.
amazing, yeah.
So you're a Hawaii native.
I am.
Being around the islands, is that maybe being around water as much as you are too, is that what got you maybe into swimming as a youngster, or is it just a case that you just found that you took to the sport and really went from there? What got you into swimming?
So my parents, they got me into swimming because they're not really good swimmers, so they said, like, look, you live on a rock, you're surrounded by water, if you, hopefully don't, but if you get swept out, like, we can't save you right then and there, so you gotta do swimming. So I took it just for survival, but at 6 years old, they thought, hey, why don't you try competitive swimming, Apparently they told me that I did not like any land sports at all. I didn't like sweating. That's what they told me.
Can't blame you.
No, so I've been doing competitive swimming since I was 6, and then in high school I got into water polo, which really helped with my swimming. And then just throughout my childhood too, I also picked up surfing. So I would say I'm like a water sport baby.
Sure.
I don't think I've ever done a land sport after like 4 years old.
So what is it then, given it's not the easiest sport, it's rather arduous to have to compete in swimming, especially practice in, practice out, day in and day out. What keeps you going? What is it about the sport that keeps you coming back to it, or makes you feel satisfaction from competing in it?
I think swimming is a really good distraction from maybe life or schoolwork. You get to look at the bottom of a pool for 2 hours straight and just be with your thoughts. Swimming has really just helped me get through a lot of things, and especially the people that I've met along the way. Coming to Ship, I definitely far from home, so finding people in the sport that I want to do, I was very fortunate to have a Ship family to come to.
And here, as we're really on the precipice of a new season, you're in the season, but the first dual meet is, 48 hours away or so.
Yeah.
What is it like as you look now? You're about to turn that page. In this case, it's your senior season. I know there'll be certain bittersweet aspects of it, but at the same time, maybe is there a little bit of intrigue because you're turning that page or starting that new book for what will be a new campaign? What's the feelings like going through here at the start?
I'm definitely very excited about this swim season. You know, like you said, it is my senior year, so that's like a little extra behind me to really try my best because this is my last competitive year. I'm just so excited to finish off my swim career at Ship. I've been through a lot of ups and downs here, but swimming has really been a big part of my life, and I can't wait to try my very best at this last season.
Well, it'll be exciting to see where it goes, and it's a testament to you to get to this point and to pursue your senior season. Lauren, thanks so much for taking the time, and have a great season.
Thank you so much.
We'll be right back with more right after this. Welcome back to the Ship Sports Report. We're taking a look at Shippensburg University swimming in 24-25, and we are now joined from the men's team by Zadian Van Orden. And Zadian, thanks for taking the time to talk with us.
Thanks for having me.
We've mentioned with Coach Verge and with Lauren a little bit about how a long season it is. To get 7 months in, you have to go day in and day out.
Yep.
You have pretty busy days as a swimmer, and they start bright and early in the morning, and they can last a while. Could you take us a little bit maybe into the average day in the life right now of a ship swimmer?
Yeah, so Mondays and Wednesdays we have lifting at 6 to 7, so.
And that's in the morning.
6 to 7 in the morning,
So you're waking up before 6.
Yep, and then after that, I like to go to the library right after to get stuff done, get some of my homework done and get it out of the way, and try not to procrastinate a little bit. That's a big thing with being in swim. Really hard to manage your time, so you have to make the most out of your time. So after being at the library for a little bit, I have class at 12, and then after that I'll go to practice.
And that's what, 90 minutes, 2 hours? 60 minutes to 2 hours, depending on the day?
My class starts at 12. I actually have 2 classes back to back in the same room, which kind of sucks, to be honest. Because you're in the same room for like 3 hours, and be 3 to 4 would be swim practice, and after that, and then I'll relax for a little bit, and then go to Risner to eat.
And then potentially homework, or
then
maybe
homework
a little
after,
bit of time to relax.
probably, yeah.
And then rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat.
Yeah. Also, today we have an intramural volleyball game, which I'll be going to, which is, it's fun to kind of get away from everything, just do that.
Well, trying to be a college student a little bit too, every now and then too.
Have a little bit of a social life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Swimming standpoint, what got you into swimming way back? I mean, obviously you had to be swimming for a while.
Yeah.
What is it back in the day that got you into swimming, and/or what is it about swimming that intrigues you?
So kind of like Lauren said, my parents got me into it. They just wanted me to be in a sport, and I pretty much tested out like a bunch of different sports, like soccer, baseball, football, things like that. I started swimming when I was 7. Ever since, I've been just swimming since I was 7, so it was at 2/3 of my life.
Yeah.
Now.
Yep.
So.
And is it the individual competition aspect of it that you enjoy, or is it just like any specific aspect or not?
Honestly, it's getting PRs is a big thing for me. I do like to see myself improving, and also the people on the team is really big for me. If it weren't for them, I don't know if I'd be swimming right now, to be honest.
Yeah, that support system I've heard is a really important aspect of, being able to pick each other up. Now, another aspect too, you mentioned getting a PR and trying to get to your best. The aspect for many people, they may not realize it in a swim race or in a swim meet or individual competition, it can come down to the most finite or minute detail.
Yep.
It could be a turn, it could be a breath here or there where you're underwater and you have to come back up. How do you try, as you're trying to give it your best every single time, to either stay focused to remember all of that, or it's a lot, you got a lot going on in the middle of a race in addition to just having to execute the race?
Well, at that point in the race, it's pretty much all muscle memory at that point, because you're just going as hard as you can to just get back to the wall as fast as you can. So all of that's really done in practice. And the big things that we focus on are turns, underwaters, and not breathing into the wall and out of the wall. But If you ask Verge, he'll say that I'm pretty bad at breathing in and out of the wall, and I breathe every stroke too, so he's not a big fan of that, so I'm going to try to work on that this year a little bit more and see if that'll help me.
But that's also the case potentially too, where with the practice, you're trying to turn it into muscle memory in that sense. You're trying to turn it into routine. You're trying to establish good habits, develop good habits, and that's, you just got to try to, as a swimmer and your teammates, that's, I guess, what you come back to in practice then is getting that routine down.
Yeah, just this past Saturday, we actually spent a good amount of time on turns, just solely turns, and I think that benefited us pretty well, including me, because there was a couple of things that Verge has talked about that I actually didn't know that I was supposed to be doing in my turns.
And so now we're about to start the 24-25 season. First dual meets in about 48 hours.
Yep.
If you could maybe just briefly speak about breaking up a little bit from the practice routine. You get to go out and race now. Like those first couple months of a swim season, you've got a lot of dual meets that break up a little bit of that practice routine. How nice is it as a swimmer to be able to have that competition and to get out and race a little bit?
Well, it's especially good this meet because this is the first time Kutztown is having a boys team, I think, since the 60s, I believe. It's
been a significant amount of time.
Yeah, so it'll be nice to get up and race them, see how they are, and see how the team is going to be developing at Kutztown. But I'm not really expecting too much the first meet, just because we're just getting back into the swing of things and not fully in shape yet and ready to go. But I'm excited.
That's the beauty, though, of a 7-month season is you get going in it and you put that groundwork down now. So, Zadie, I wish you the best of luck here in 24-25. Have a great season. Thank you all for tuning in to the Ship Sports Report and learning a little bit about SU Swim. We encourage you to visit shipraiders.com for all the latest news and information on all 20 of the Raider intercollegiate athletic teams. Thank you.